skeletons speak with such a screech. You'll shake and shudder in surprise when you hear these zombies shriek. Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul and seal your doom tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons.
It was dark and quiet on the streets of the city, and the only sound was the soft footsteps of a man walking through the deserted alleyways. His name was Jack, and he was a master hypnotist. He used his skills to kidnap unsuspecting people and take them back to his secluded laboratory, where he would use the latest medical technologies to harvest their organs for sale on the black market. The victims never knew what hit them. Jack had perfected the art of hypnotizing them so effectively that they would become docile and obedient without even knowing it. Once they were in his grasp, there was no escape. Jack's crimes didn't go unnoticed for long, however, and soon local authorities began to investigate him and his whereabouts. But they could never seem to catch him in the act, as he used his powers to stay one step ahead of them at all times. One evening, while out on an errand, Jack unknowingly crossed paths with a determined detective who was hot on his trail. In a desperate attempt to escape, Jack used his hypnosis to make the detective forget all about his suspicions. Jack hypnotized the detective and turned him into his obedient servant. Jack let him go and instructed him to bring people to him. Following Jack's orders, the detective returned to his colleagues, who were relieved to see him alive as they believed he wouldn't survive. However, unbeknownst to them, their joy was short-lived. The detective began to hypnotize his companions one by one, and brought them to Jack's secret laboratory, where the two of them would use modern medical technology to harvest their organs and sell them on the black market. The detective had lost all memories of himself and followed Jack's orders to hypnotize people. There was no way for anyone to catch him, not even the police.
The creepy graveyard was known for its chilling atmosphere, where the wind whistled through the trees and the branches creaked eerily. No one dared to walk through it after dark, for fear of the unknown. It all started when a group of teens decided to cut through the graveyard on their way home from a party one night. Unbeknownst to them, they were being watched by two mysterious figures standing atop the hill overlooking the graveyard. As the teens walked by, the two figures slowly began to make their way down the hill and towards the group. The teens were scared and started to run, but it was too late. The two figures suddenly appeared out of the darkness and grabbed one of the teens. They dragged him away, disappearing into the night. The next day, the group of teens returned to the graveyard in search of their missing friend. To their surprise, they found him lying on the ground in a pool of his own blood. He had been viciously killed. After that, people started to avoid the graveyard altogether. It wasn't until recently, when more and more people started to get missing, and people also reported strange sightings of the two mysterious figures lurking in the shadows. No one knows for sure who or what these figures are or why they keep coming back, but one thing's for certain: the creepy graveyard is not a safe place after dark.
There was a large, old mansion at the edge of town that nobody seemed to know who owned or even cared to ask. It seemed to have been abandoned for years, and yet, the lights would flicker on and off in some of its windows at night. One day, a curious young girl decided to explore the mansion. She entered through the back door, and as she stepped inside, she was immediately filled with a feeling of dread. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a woman appeared in front of her. The woman wore a tattered dress, and her black hair was pulled back tightly in a bun. She looked the girl right in the eye and said, "I am the maid of this house and I've been waiting centuries for someone to visit." The girl followed the maid as she slowly walked up the winding stairs and down long, dimly lit hallways. She stopped in front of an old door and gestured for the girl to enter. Inside, the room was dark and musty. In the center of the room was a coffin with a large lock on it. The maid explained that the person inside was an evil witch who had been cursed by the gods. She said that if the girl opened the coffin, the witch would be released and bring untold destruction to the world. But, if the girl couldn't break the curse, then the witch would be locked away forever. The girl was terrified, but she knew she had to try. She found the key that fit the coffin's lock and opened it. Inside, she saw herself laying peacefully. People went missing and were never found. The story of the cursed maid quickly spread throughout the town, and soon people were warning each other not to step foot in the mansion. To this day, nobody knows what has happened to those missing people, and nobody has braved entering the cursed home, for fear of what may still dwell within.
It all started with the disappearance of Samantha, a young college student who was studying abroad in Greece. Her parents were worried sick when they hadn't heard from her in weeks. They contacted the authorities, but with no leads, they were left with nothing but fear and despair. Months later, another student vanished without a trace. Then 2 more went missing from the same city. The police reports indicated that all the students had similar physical characteristics and were none the wiser as to what could have happened to them. With the help of locals, the authorities uncovered a strange pattern. All the missing people had been seen speaking with a woman in a dark coat and hat. She seemed harmless enough but was known for her eccentric behavior. As more people disappeared, rumors started flying about the mysterious stranger. People began referring to her as the Shadow Woman. Some thought she was a witch while others believed she was a shape-shifting creature preying on unsuspecting victims. One brave soul decided to confront the Shadow Woman, and try to get to the bottom of the disappearances. He followed her late one night and found her lurking near a disused warehouse. Peeking through the window, he could see exactly what had been happening to the missing people. Inside the warehouse were rows of cages filled with people. They all looked terrified and weak, like they hadn't eaten in weeks. He quickly took some pictures, but the woman noticed him. She started to follow him, but he managed to run to the police station. He told the police officers every detail and even showed them the pictures he had taken. The police raided the warehouse and discovered a horrible truth. The Shadow Woman had been abducting people, draining them of their blood and then selling it on the black market. It turned out she had been doing this for years, and had been the cause of countless missing person cases. The Shadow Woman was arrested and was thrown in jail. But the students who were rescued will never forget what she did to them.